Hi, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm really happy that you're able to join this webinar. I'm Michael Nolte, the Creative Director of Beauty Streams, and we're delighted to explore this exciting topic today, which is Beauty 2030 Industry Shifts for the Next Decade. We are very lucky to have an international panel of high-level experts today. Robin Raskin, founder of CES Las Vegas and CEO of Solving for Tech from New York. Lan Vu, founder and CEO of Beauty Streams, joining from Florida. Ivy Chen, senior expert and beauty category management of Alibaba.com, calling in from Hangzhou. So special thanks, Ivy, to be so late with us. JP Coolwine, principal of Uber Brands from New York, and myself calling in from Paris. Here's an overview of what to expect from the webinar today. We will start with an introduction to the topic, followed by the Beauty Streams macro trends presented by Lan Vu. Then JP Coolwine will share his insights and perspective concerning the evolution of retail experience, followed by Ivy Chen's online retail perspective. The next focus will be on the future of technology presented by Robin Raskin, followed by Beauty Streams beauty movements and blue sky concepts. During the presentation, please feel free to type your questions in the question and answer panel, as we will, in the end of the presentation, have some time to answer questions. Feel free to note also who you would like the question to be addressed to, so we target the right person. Let me just start with a very quick introduction to Beauty Streams and, of course, to the topic as well. For those who don't know Beauty Streams is the definite source of beauty industry insights. It's an American company with an expert team of 200 people on 5 continents. For us, a truly global view with local understanding is key, even more today than ever, because travel is less common and less accessible. We offer 2 different types of services, the annual subscription, which represents about 70% of our business, and bespoke consulting, which represents about 30% of our business. When it comes to our members, they come from strategy, marketing, product development teams, from the full supply chain, from raw material suppliers like, for example, BASF and Ashland, contract manufacturers like Intercos and Colmar, and also packaging suppliers, brands, agencies, and retailers. They span from large corporations like L'Oreal, Estee Lauder, or Amer Pacific to small indie brands, and from luxury brands such as Chanel and Dior to mass market corporations like P&G and Unilever. Our members are actually on 6 continents today. Our content is based on what we call the trend funnel methodology. We always start with the macro and consumer movements by tapping into our future collective, and that will be actually the focus today because we look into a further forecast. Then we translate the transversal macro movement into what we call the beauty movements. They are actionable ideas or directions for product development of color cosmetics, nails, skincare, personal care, fragrance, all the subcategories basically you can imagine in the beauty field. Then we offer seasonal stories to identify the look and feel of specific seasons, and everything is, of course, grounded in research of what is happening today, currently in the world of trade, ingredient trends, social media, etc., etc. So as I mentioned today, the main focus will be on the macro and beauty movements perspectives as we look into a wider future. Initially, pre-COVID, we planned to create an interactive experience as Cosmoprof Worldwide, Bologna, but as everybody, things changed and we had to change the format. For the installation, we tapped into our Future Collective, which is a multidisciplinary panel of international experts from diverse fields such as geopolitics, art, media, medicine, retail, etc. Here are just some quotes of those experts to draw the big picture for what could happen or will happen in the next decade. It makes sense, it makes business sense from both a consumer demand and systemic standpoint to be an environmental conscious and to embrace sustainable practices. Susan Rockefeller, an environmental activist. Synthetic biology has a wide range of possibilities that could apply to beauty, from reformulating cosmetics to altering our bodies to so they don't age. Andrew Hassel, biotechnology futurist. The beauty industry has an advantage to survive political and social turmoils simply by the fact that beauty is mostly an individual issue and decision. Twit Nguyen, United Nations correspondent. Technology will continue to expand the possibilities of art. Javier Perez, artist. Patient on PowerPoint is simply the biggest milestone in the history of medicine. Bertalan Mesko, medical futurist. The future lays in personalized beauty, a unique beauty. Dr. Maria Vittoria Giatti, plastic surgeon. Sustainability is and will continue to be a major concern for the Chinese government and Chinese beauty companies. Zhou Wang, former CEO of Shanghai Jiawa. Digital artificial intelligence and virtual reality will be key and necessary to enhance the beauty experience. Margarita Arrigada, ex-chief merchant of Sephora USA. What we found very interesting to note here is that those point of views were actually collected pre-crisis, but most of those trends and point of views have been accelerated by the crisis. We also created actually for this installation an original photo shoot in our Paris studios to represent the face of the future. We identified 3 trends that will shape the face of the future. The first trend is the physical evolution of appearance, genetics. We actually casted this model because she represents a look that doesn't really reveal where she's coming from. She's not really looking European, Asian, Latin, Middle Eastern, or African. The traditional physical features defined by mono or bi-ethnical backgrounds will most certainly disappear in most regions. It's just a matter of time, and of course, Asian regions will take a little bit more time than Brazil or North America, for example. At the same time, genetic heritage does not necessarily result in the same exact physical appearance. Lifestyle and environment are becoming the primary triggers that accelerate aging and have a strong impact on our mental well-being and bodies, including skin and hair. As such, our lifestyle are literally imprinted into our skin. The second trend is related to age extremes. The rise in inclusive beauty is driving the industry to embrace a broader portrayal of consumers of all ages, expanding to consumers towards much older and much younger generations. On one end, you will have the age category of over 65, which is the fastest growing segment in the world's population, outstripped by an even older subgroup of those older people, those aged by 80 or above, thanks to medical advances and in longevity. On the other hand, you've got the other extreme, the alpha gens, the first generation of truly digital natives that are growing up in the middle of the climate emergency, witnessing a quickly deteriorating planet environment. Studies show that 67% of 6 to 9-year-olds want to make saving the planet their career mission. Thus, our beauty industry will need to adapt these Gen Alphas, who are uniquely inclined to be ethical and value-led, as well as to the dynamic octogenaires with their specific lifestyle and beauty product needs. The next and third trend is the idea of uncoded genders. While unisex product offerings already move beyond gender neutrality, future products will need to address a much larger gender spectrum. Consumers with various gender identities will continue to gain visibility in representation. Self-expression will take center stage, and stereotypes around typical feminine or masculine appearances and behaviors will be broken down and challenged. Consumers who are transgender or going through a transitioning process will represent a growing community that will openly be addressed. Skin issues that arise during gender transition, as well as hormonal concerns, will become common needs and will need to be addressed by the beauty industry. I will now pass the mic to BeautyStream's founder and CEO, Lan Wu, to talk about the macro movements.
Okay, so sorry about that. Thanks, Mikkel, for sharing a little bit about the background by research. So macro movements are especially fascinating in today's context. The whole world's been hit by COVID and things have shifted dramatically. But the very core of the macro movements that we identified pre-crisis are still there, and they haven't changed deeply. So based on the exchanges that we had with our future collective, it's clear that we're entering an age where well-being and ecology are scientifically powered. Here's an overview of the 5 trends that we define, which are already relevant now. You can see there's next-gen human, Dear Earth, holistic self, society recoded, and X realities. Okay, then in next-gen humans, it focuses on how science and expert opinions will reemerge. So we've seen now that with the COVID crisis, it's not only about chatter online, but it's actually where it counts is the actual research, the medical stats that back up, and that's why scientific research and large corporations can now contribute to the safety of humanity. And therefore, we expect consumers to gain more trust in scientific approaches in general. Of course, the natural movement is always important, but now you see how people are looking for that scientific direction to feel safe. And corporations and labs that focus on long and midterm development will then have an advantage over those companies who, before were simply focusing on quick seasonal trends. So that said, genetic research and stem cell technologies will contribute to finding solutions to protect humanity against future epidemics in the long run. And in beauty, topics like epigenetics, exposome, biotechnology, and immunity boosting claims based on scientific research will be accelerated by the crisis even more. So the next theme is Dear Earth. This focuses on local production and how it'll be fueled by biotechnology and create a positive environmental impact. So everyone knows excuse me, that sustainability will play a key role. I mean, everyone, that's nothing to contest. Everyone knows that will be a key role for companies and consumers. And there'll be more demand for local sourcing and production, especially now since travel is limited. So advances in biotechnology will offer consistent on-demand access to safe and natural ingredients that before were dependent on shipping and favorable climate conditions, and now will constitute a major role in the durable development. So for those of you who are interested in the topic, this week we're actually launching a macro movement dive focused on biotechnology available to BeautyStream members, and that we believe that even the topic, though controversial, it constitutes a great potential for sustainable development. The next topic is holistic self. This trend has been accelerated by the need and the race to build stronger immune systems, especially during this pandemic. And with this, people are searching for more holistic approaches as well. So sadly, the phrase survival of the fittest was never as true as it is today. And topics like diabetes, obesity, and heart problems, often linked with unhealthy lifestyles, now come to the forefront, pushing consumers to a long-term approach to health by eating better, becoming more physically active, more social, whether online or offline, and finding just those moments of turning off and relaxation. So, with home lifestyles becoming more common, people are going to try to find ways to find balance. And then local time-honored ways like traditional Chinese medicine, Native American, Celtic, or Aboriginal healing practices will now inspire ingredients and rituals. So our next macro movement is Society Recoded. This highlights that in times of shifting power like today, cultural empathy is actually much more important than ever. So even though certain consumers and countries have protectionist and localist reactions, values like empathy, kindness, and generosity will take a greater sense during and beyond the crisis, especially with the younger generations. And in a time of crisis, you can see how, you can observe how companies and people react. And then companies that take a truly ethical approach in all aspects by the way they treat employees and local communities will be favored post-crisis. Philanthropic and political actions will be expected by consumers, especially by larger corporations, and the shift from Western-centric toward more influence from the East and Southern Hemisphere will be accentuated. And then true understanding and adaptation to local consumers will be expected, as well as it'll become expected that companies will integrate more employees of mixed cultural backgrounds. That'll be just the baseline. And our last theme is X realities. This is especially now relevant during the pandemic. It focuses on how storytelling and virtual immersion creates moments of escapism and relaxation. And, the crisis accelerates this trend of online interaction. All generations now, including the oldest, are plunged into the virtual realm, and they have to work, learn, shop, and socialize all online. And thus, we're all searching for ways to add a touch of emotion and humanity to the digital world. So consumers are expecting companies to find innovative online approaches that are interactive but also personalized. And the need for escapism will even create a need for immersive storytelling. So you can use augmented reality and virtual reality to offer greater potential for multisensorial experiences. But it's not going to obviously compete with offline experience. It just adds a different dimension to the consumer brand interactions. I mean, what's really important is that interaction. So now I leave it to you, JP, to share your perspectives on retail experiences.
My name is JP Kuhlwein. I'll talk about future of beauty retail. Wow, big subject. I was kind of overwhelmed. This is me, so I look like this just to authenticate. And the background from which I'm going to tell you about a couple of ideas that really went through my mind when Michael and Lan approached me comes from my background. So my background is a couple of decades at Procter & Gamble, and including the beauty industries. Like I ran Frédéric Fekkai, which is a premium hair care brand that some of you might know. I research, I'm an author, I teach around the subjects of brand building, brand elevation in particular, including at Columbia and other universities. And then I run my own consulting business where it's a very broad array of industries, certainly not just beauty, but includes beauty. And so I was thinking about, what are they facing? What is going on? And a common theme that you will hear in almost any webcast, any discussion nowadays is that COVID has brought us the future. COVID has accelerated the future, whether it's geographic, whether it's industries, whether it's the emergence of things like Zoom and eSport, et cetera, in terms of industries, or the decline of others like, the travel industry, particularly airlines, et cetera, being replaced by virtual experiences. So it should be no surprise, and it's very rational and logical, and it's a must-do for any beauty competitor that they need to play in this virtual field, and that they need to think about virtual beyond just communication and interaction. One of the industries heavily impacted is mine, which is teaching, that literally within 48 hours, I remember, standing in front of students and then teaching over the internet. But it's not only that communication, it's also a definite choice that they now have, that everyone has, when it comes to example to education. So think about it broadly, and the emergence of players like Masterclass and others, and how beauty is linked to education, which I would suggest is a very strong link. Then the other thing that has happened is that the physical world, actually having the product, the demand has become almost immediate. It needs to be right there, whether it's my food, whether it's my cosmetics, or anything else. Grubhub, Uber Eats, Amazon, Walmart.com, you name it, Carrefour, need to deliver right away. And the store, if you like, has it become a little bit like this. Since COVID, I walk regularly, I jog regularly, et cetera. And it's amazing how, at least dimensionally, you can now do in-home research and shopper research just by walking by people's homes. Short of opening the packages, you can at least kind of guess what they're buying, how often they're buying, whether they're subscribed or not. So a lot of the store of the future is here, and it's right at the doorstep. At least in the US, it looks like this. In some other countries, this might be dangerous. So beauty players that grow and will grow, they know how to be virtual, how to be visual, how to communicate, how to start to educate, and how to deliver. And depending on where you are, some of these are key challenges, and it's very difficult for you. Others are figuring it out, but I think it's no rocket science. It's defined, and there are options available, and there are management decisions to be made. And it's all very convenience-based. And then the other big trend that goes a little bit deeper in terms of linking into the supply chain, linking into the R&D and the marketing, et cetera, is this aspect of customization in retailing. It's been going around for a long time, in the car industry. Mini was a big spectacular case that you could customize and have so many options. I'm really fascinated with players like Pros, where you can totally customize your hair, but it goes way beyond that. When we had Arnaud Plus, the founder, one of the co-founders of Pros, in our class, actually in our MBA class, he was talking about an aspect that he and I agreed is the most fascinating, which was actually not the initial questionnaire and then getting your product, but it was the constant feedback that they are taking into account, and that the second, third, and fourth delivery is never like the first or the second, because they constantly improve the product, and it creates an ever stronger bond, because they have these unsolicited emails where people say, wow, I just got my second delivery of shampoo, conditioner, treatment, whatever, and I can sense you improved it for my hair. So this is how deep customization goes. And then obviously it plays also into the supply chain, and now being able to not only micro target, et cetera, when it comes to the consumer, but to also micro deliver, i.e., the stat that Arnaud mentioned is that 85% of formulations that go out of the door every day are unique and done and produced for the very first time this day. It's stunning. So that's how you deliver. Now, many of you are going to tell me, hey, JP, you're supposed to talk about retail and you're missing the shops. And some will say, well, of course, because the shops are of yesterday. Don't you see the malls are closing, shops are closing, we're over-retailed, and that's all correct. But there's still something where we are yearning why we need to talk about shops. We want shops. And I think there again, the crisis has taught us. The crisis has taught us that they are indispensable, essential kind of physical shopping experience that the consumers cannot resist. It ranges from the very low on the Maslow pyramid, I need my toilet paper, and you've heard all about the fights about that, all the way to very personal things. And I call it essential and incontournable because, you know, we're in beauty, so it needs to sound a little Frenchy, a little, you know, décoiffé if you're in hair care, as I was, but also it rhymes. And what is incontournable? You know, essential is, you know, not only that we go to the pharmacy because it's, you know, legally we have to maybe, but also because the pharmacist is an authority, an institution, a person we trust, just like doctors. So there are these touch points. And surprisingly in beauty, they include touch points like the barber, the hairdresser, the stylist, depending on which level or which kind of physical store, because it is a store, think about it, you go to. I mean, after a while, you know, cutting your own hair, even with the trends cutting your own hair, not only does it maybe not look the same, also there's some feeling that you're missing, which gets us also to the irresistible. So beyond the essential, because there is no way around it, there's also this irresistible. I mean, despite all the warnings, despite everything, people are drawn to nightclubs and bars, and it drives politicians and neighbors and others and older people crazy. But there seems to be something so humanly irresistible to that. And that's obviously the social contact, the being together, the connecting on a human basis. So people do ridiculous things like put these tubes, inflated tubes around them to make sure they socially distance, but they cram into this bar all tubed up, quote unquote, okay? We have people lining up to go to Home Depot and Lowe's, which are home improvement stores, and garden centers. How essential is that really? There is no real rational explanation for that, okay? And people are going and cramming again into certain types of stores, a lot not, but certain types of stores, people go crazy. And when you ask yourself why that is because strong retail, physical retail is able to harness the facts that are irresistible, incontournable, essential to us, okay? And so you need to be looking at, where is my business essential? Where's this human contact, expertise, physically doing things, experiencing physical things, irresistible? And that would be, for example, the hairdresser. So if you're in the hair care business and you don't have salons or strong relations to that, or you don't really stand out and create an experience there, look at, or if you are a skincare business, you know, dermatologists are an irresistible or essential place to be. You better enhance those relationships and own these relationships if you can. And then there are these experiences, like here in Milan, I think we're in Milan, right? Where you say it's the psychological and the sociological drivers that are irresistible there. Just buying, you know, a Hermes bag on the internet, or shopping organic food on the internet and nobody sees it, is only half the deal. You want at least people to experience it, you want to see and be seen. This is about social shopping. And there again, physical environments play a huge role. In fact, if you broaden it up and you look at some of the frameworks, there are very many. At Columbia, for example, we have Schmidt, who's an expert there, looking at the different dimensions, and you combine entertainment can be uniquely physical. Excitement, where the physical dimensions and the physical interaction plays an essential role. Education, where the addition of physical experimentation, for example, plays a role. You can harness these aspects of the physical environment to uniquely contribute your brand. At the end of the day, your brand is the emotion that the consumer gets from interacting with you. It's not your identity strategy, your communication. No, it's not. It's the associations they have with their brand, and most forcefully, the emotions that they get when they experience your brand. And that goes from thinking about your brand to physically touching it, etc. So think of the senses, like here, fragrances and florence, or NARS, and the associated sensual triggers that you can associate with cosmetics, with beauty more broadly, and think about how you bring this into your brand. So in conclusion, and I don't want to set up my next panelist negatively here, but I do not think that it's this typical, stereotypical, robotic, fully virtualized e-shopping environment in a physical store that's the future. I think it's the contrary. It's everything that the virtual, customized, delivered environment can still not deliver. It's the sensual, it's the experience, it's the education, it's the irresistible and the incontournable. And that's pretty much it. You can learn a lot more. When Wolfgang and I, a partner of mine, studied how to elevate brand, how to make them irresistible, how to make them peerless and priceless in the mind of the consumer. And when you compare that, how to elevate brand, and you look at what retail, the physical part of retail, needs to be in the future, you see that there's a ton of parallels. So having physical representation is also a key way to go beyond the material and become meaningful and become peerless and priceless. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, JP. Ivy is calling in with her phone due to connection problems. So Ivy, it's your turn now.
Hello, everyone. Greetings from China. I'm Ivy Shen, fashion category lead of Alibaba.com. It's a great honor for me to be here and share with you what I have found and see in beauty and personal care category from the collective data that from both on and off our platform. I think most of you, turn next page, please. I think most of you have heard about Alibaba, but might have confused Alibaba.com with Alibaba Group. So I'll give a brief introduction about those. Actually, for Alibaba Group, it started from e-commerce, but has now formed a all-around infrastructure in the digital economy, including business to finance and also logistics and cloud computing. So within the e-commerce sector, we have domestic B2B business and C2C business, and also global B2B business and C2C business. For the topic I'm going to focus on is Alibaba.com, which falls under the B2B business sector of our group. So it is actually the first business that Alibaba Group. It was founded in 1999 and is now the world's leading B2B trading platform, connecting buyers from 200 countries and with millions of suppliers all over the world. We have total 40 categories in total, and including machinery, consumer electronics, and beauty and personal care category. Next page. So for the beauty and personal category, actually it is one of the 8 strategic categories on Alibaba.com. Among the 40 categories, it ranks the 3rd in terms of buyer contribution and the 5th in terms of GMV contribution. So with all the challenges that we are facing this year, so the next page. So with all the challenges that we are facing this year, we still see a very positive growth within the category on Alibaba.com. While the category as a whole enjoy a very positive growth, the performance of different subcategories actually vary widely. So as you can see here, the makeup category was affected most by the coronavirus. It it had a negative growth of -3 year-on-year growth in March, which was very uncommon in terms of e-commerce. We never had a negative growth in the past few years. So, but it quickly bounced back in May as strict procedures starting to take place to ensure product safety. And other subcategories such as skincare and house beauty equipment had a much fast growth compared to the same period last year, which is not surprising when people are starting to work from home and due to the lockdowns. Another interesting phenomenon that we're noticing is the accelerated shift of buyer contribution. While the retailer still remains the largest buyer cohort of beauty category on our platform, within the group, as the share of online retailer increased from 35% last year to 43% this year, benefiting from the staggering growth of direct-to-consumer retailer brands, such as shoppable social media sellers and the Shopify sellers, and also the third-party e-commerce sellers such as Amazon and eBay. So we've also found that when the pandemic began to ramp up in March, the number of new buyers coming to our platform increased significantly, suggesting that behavioral change of buyers that were not expected to shop online before pandemic are shifting their way of purchasing. Next page. So actually, new buyers means new demands to both our suppliers and our platform. For example, these new buyers, most of these new buyers are new to e-commerce. When they source from Alibaba.com, they are looking for suppliers who can provide one-stop solutions for very small MOQ orders. So one anecdotal story I would like to share with you is what I heard from one of our top suppliers in Guangdong province. It's about he received a buying request from a beauty startup buyer in Australia. And the buyer came to Alibaba.com and contacted the supplier for ODM service. He asked to have a trial order of special MOQ support for 200 pieces, which was way below the supplier's normal MOQ of 1,000 pieces. The young buyer said that he wanted to build a brand that is entirely vegan and cruelty-free, and with zero sensitivity and no pain. So, but he had just finished brand registration and was confident that it's going to work. But he had only $20,000 US to do the business, and he's planning to spend half of the money on product sourcing and half of the money on marketing. So our supplier was convinced, and he was very touched by his determination. And after verifying the buyer's company registration and trademark, he actually accepted the minimum order of 200 pieces. And the supplier even went further with the partial shipment support, so as to help the young entrepreneur to reduce the inventory and inventory risk and also cash flow risk. So, but the brand grew very fast. In less than 5 years, the startup brand reached 40 million in sales, with brand value of 300 million, and it now enjoys a much bigger market share than many traditional brands. Our supplier also grew together with the buyer. After the initial order was fulfilled with several shipments, but later on, the repeat order grew bigger and bigger with containers. Now, the stable order from this buyer accounts for 20% of the supplier's total revenue. And this brand, I think, is not alone. Similar stories can be found in many new small beauty brands who succeed through internet and digital marketing. I believe that internet can level the playing field by enabling small business to leverage innovations and technology to grow and compete more effectively in domestic and global economies. Next page, please. So the vision I had for beauty industry in the next decade is can be best summarized by what Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba Group, said a decade ago, actually, that small is beautiful, small is powerful. I believe that small beauty companies with clear value proposition, strong product capability, and also verified sales channel will prevail. Thank you. So this is what I'm going to say.
Thank you so much, Ivy, for these great insights. So Robin, now it's your turn to talk about technology.
Well, I feel like, thank you. I feel like I'm caught in the middle of this paradigm shift between Ivy's passion for the online and the young entrepreneur, and JP's passion for the playfulness and wonder of the physical experience. So I'm going to talk about them both, but through the lens of technology, because I really believe, and I think retailers have that started online very quickly moved back to having retail shopping areas where people could come in and experience, whether it was a mattress or a beauty product or a shirt, touching and feeling is still irresistible. So I'm going to take you through the technologies and sort of think that make some predictions of my own that we'll see how I do. So as JP said, yes, it's almost cliche at this point. COVID is a catalyst for change. It changed so much of our lives. And as they say, it only takes 60 days to learn a new habit. We've been doing this quite a while now. In New York, 7 months. So we've learned new patterns of behavior. I'm going to talk about contactless beauty from a technology standpoint, what it means to try on and feel the products without ever touching a physical product. What's happened in the DIY business, the do-it-yourself, try it at home, because that's where we all are. What it means to be personalized beauty and prescriptive, some of the advances you're seeing in the bio and chem meat technology, and a little bit about supply chain. Let's start with contactless, because everybody gets it. It was around before the pandemic. It's just gotten more refined as the technology gets better. And that's something important to realize about any technology. You can buy an Alexa, you can buy a Tesla, and I guarantee you the one you buy today is different than the one you'll own tomorrow because it gets smarter and learns more about you. So that's really important. So the contactless beauty, I take a selfie, my face gets imaged. With computer imaging, that's become really fine and algorithmic enhancement. So it might be looking at my pores, my sebum, my wrinkles, my dark spots. And then it can be done over the 5G network. So I don't have to be, I can be in a kiosk at retail, I can be at home, I can be at a pop-up shop. My skin is diagnosed through comparing my skin to a bunch of data sets in AI. And I can then buy product, I can see if that product's working over time, and I can also try on using augmented reality, what would I look like if? Now, during the pandemic, you saw some of the beauty companies looking at all sorts of new features. For example, Perfect Core had a challenge in kiosks in retail stores. Everybody had to wear a face mask. So they actually tweaked their algorithms so that you can wear your face mask, but still be recognized by the system. You could try on your eye makeup without touching anything. When it came to lipsticks, since you were wearing a mask, you held your forearm up and used that for lipstick swatches. And you navigated through the kiosk without touching the monitor because you used gestures to sweep. Next lipstick, next shade, lighter, darker. And finally, when you liked your product, you used your voice and said, add number 4 to my shopping bag. So from beginning to end, a contactless experience. And I have to say, having tried it, it can be a very joyful experience too. So the idea that beauty companies are experimenting with all of those contactless environments to different degrees, they're also experimenting with where shopping takes place. So don't think about it as store versus online. I could be at a movie. I can be in Pinterest in this case, where Pinterest added a try me feature. I see a color I like on somebody, I try it on, I shop right there. I don't leave anywhere. You've seen it on Instagram, you've seen it on Snapchat. All beauty manufacturers of all types need to be playing in these environments so that they understand social shopping, not like the one JP talked about, but of a different nature online, because they're shopping with their friends and images that they like. Even videos will be shoppable this year, so I can take a video and through meta tagging and AI, I can just say, oh, I like that dress that I saw that woman wearing. Buy it for me. Don't be scared about AI. It's artificial intelligence. It's really real. And the easiest way to think about it is computers that are ingesting enormous amounts of real world data about a population, about skin types, about skin colors, about age, about where you live. So the ability for AI to say, okay, yeah, you have dry skin, but to then say, oh my gosh, you live in New York and this is what the environmental factors are. You've got pollution, you've got too much blue light, to start to predict and personalize based on these large data sets and to draw inferences. That's where you're going to see the beauty industry impacted the most by artificial intelligence. When you look at, we talked about augmented reality, but just to go further, this is really a way to step into a world that's layered on top of you, the existing world, and try different things. The AR is getting better. You can move your head, raise your eyebrows, see what you look like in different moments, and that's due to better and better AR. The 5G network sounds like the most boring thing in the world, but it's really not just faster telecommunications. It's enabling new experiences because it's remote end-to-end points that can have a conversation. So you're at the beauty counter, but the dark spot maybe looks a little funny. Just one tap and you're talking to a dermatologist. One tap and you are getting a personalized lipstick combination. These sorts of speed dialing through the internet are going to enable retail experiences that we haven't even imagined yet. Personalized fragrance. Do it yourself. I'll just say it's seen a real uptick during the pandemic, and for the obvious reason, we are all at home. We are all willing to pay to try certain things at home. So that idea of don't try this at home doesn't work anymore. You have seen in the past couple of months just an uptick in LED masks that reduce wrinkles, vibrating face masks, microneedling kits for the home, cryo balls, microcurrent devices, and these are just a quick surf of the internet if you type in high tech and beauty. Things that you would have paid for in a private dermatologist treatment are now available at home. And technology itself is causing a whole new line of beauty products for the ravages beset by staying at home and using technology. The most interesting thing to me, and the trend that hasn't been brought out yet, is this blurring line between me, myself, and my avatar. Before we got on the call this morning to present, I said to Michael, pretty soon, I won't need physical makeup. I will just put on digital makeup and digital clothing and send my avatar out there. And if you watched Fashion Week during the pandemic, you saw this blurring of which models were avatars, which models were humans, what makeup was real, what makeup was digital. So I think the smart beauty retailer will play with these things. And I'll give you just an example. MAC Cosmetics teamed up with The Sims, which is a simulation game, and just to play with dressing up their characters in MAC Cosmetics. You're seeing beauty filters on Instagram, on Pinterest, on Snapchat, working to for brands to get comfortable in the virtual space, as well as for people to get comfortable using these virtual things. And believe it or not, they're paying for them. If you watch the headline, somebody just paid $9,500 for a totally virtual dress. Gamers have been doing this for a long time, paying in real money for virtual goods. Looking at materials, we alluded to it, you're going to see this amazing exploration of biology and chemistry meeting technology to the point where you needed clinical trials and you needed FDA approval for things. You can now, through AI, simulate populations of people. They call it digital twinning. And you can actually run through the effects of a drug or a treatment or an ingestible without touching a human and get you much faster to the point of getting your product out there or doing a test on real humans when and no animals. So there's a lot going on in the clinical trials area. There are new materials waiting to be discovered. A company I'm really excited about is called New Life. They take garbage from the bottom of the ocean, basically, CO2 and methane, and they turn it into a new plastic that they'll be using to bottle cosmetics. So I think you're going to see huge amounts. And I think, and I heard it with Ivy and JP and Lon's comment, there is a tension between where you sit on this spectrum, the organic, sustainable, natural part of your life and the mixed realities that we're about to see in the future. And you are encouraged to play because it's going to be not one answer for one person and always changing. And also, I think this trend of blurring the lines between beauty and wellness. There is no reason, I have apps that tell me how fast I run, they tell me how much money I've saved. There's no reason I can't have an app that tells me when my mascara is about to run out or when I need new powder or when this is not the right shade for what I'm wearing. So I think we're just seeing the effect of environmental things can be built into apps that can help you. I think there's this strong desire for inner beauty during this pandemic and to apps. And we call them in the health industry, they're called digital therapeutics. And the FDA in America is starting to okay these, like instead of a drug, I will give you an app, whether you have, whether you're ADD, whether you have migraines, whether you need to relax and alleviate stress. So imagine what a beauty app can look like as you encourage your followers to embrace their inner beauty through diet, through exercise, through nutrition. And so to me, the store of the near future, and we're going to play, I gave the same conversation similar to an eyeglasses store, the convention of ophthalmologists the other day. And I said, so what are you going to do as the eyeglass store? Are you going to carry VR glasses, AR glasses, vitamins for eyes? I think beauty definition, as you've seen through everybody's presentation, is getting broader and broader. And so you are able to experiment. It's been a time of great experimentation, able to incorporate wellness, stress, and exercise, and really become a personalized, trusted source through the use of smart technology. So I'm going to end my comments there. And if you thought I was blue sky, I'm going to turn it back to Michael, who will talk even further about some of the beauty movements and blue sky concepts. Michael?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Robin, for these great insights. And of course, also Ivy, Lan, JP. After listening to everybody's perspective, it looks like the beauty industry is at the start of a profound evolution boosted by technology, sustainability, and also shopping behavior. One thing, though, that we wanted to stress that is also that our industry is not purely functional. It is a lot about psychological and physical self-indulgent. The definition of self-indulgent has changed fundamentally with the crisis and the wish for a more sustainable future. Today and tomorrow, balancing human and nature's needs constitutes a key challenge. Indulging in affordable luxuries has always been a constant pattern in recession times, and we expect that the beauty industry will recover quicker than other industries. However, we have to really understand what indulgence may mean, actually. And it doesn't mean only thinking about yourself. You can feel better by thinking about others and doing a greater good if you're a common consumer. I just want to give you a very quick overview of some key beauty movements that we define at Beauty Streams for the next 3 to 4 years. 3 to 4 years simply because we see what happens a little pandemic comes across and things change drastically. So those things may be even more accelerated by other things that arrive, but 3-4 years is realistic to be accurate. Because our lives will be more and more happening at home in the next years, not only because we stay at home for security reasons, but only we got used to working from home. Those switch off and switch on movements that Lan in the beginning of the presentation mentioned will be very important. And the beauty industry can play a role here by approaches that are more premium when it comes to personal care, or the growth of potential of functional approaches to fine fragrances, for example. Showing impeccable ethical behavior in all aspects will become a major consumer demand. Vegan, cruelty-free, and sustainable become baseline, and the way that companies and brands treat their employees, gender and racial equality, et cetera, will become even more important. We all see that the health crisis shows that real experts play a major role in solving problems. This logically leads to increasing needs for medical and scientific credentialism to reassure consumers also in beauty, actually. With suffering economies and travel restriction, hyperlocalism leading to super local inspirations and innovations becomes another key movement. And we mentioned it throughout the presentation, biotechnology will become a key solution for a more sustainable future. Last but not least, sustainability does not have to mean sad and boring. At the contrary, nature comes in all colors and textures, and embracing the sensorial aspect of organic ingredients will become another key beauty movements. I wanted to highlight another initiative actually that we prepared for the installation. Based on the insights from the Beauty Streams Future Collective, we created 3 videos highlighting plausible blue sky product and service concepts. When I say plausible, we didn't want to go too far out either. We're not going to have all fly in the future or whatever. It's quite close, because if you look 10 years back, actually things weren't that different. The main difference was in the way we communicate in social media, et cetera, et cetera. So imagine one day of a future consumer called Ava living in 2030, and highlight 3 concepts for the morning, 3 for the afternoon, and 3 for the evening. Trying to get the video start. I think it should work, right? Yes, I think it plays. So let's look into the morning routine of Ava, actually. In this first concept, we imagine a chronophase skincare. Here, Ava uses a smart skincare that releases the right active ingredient needed during the different sleep phases to enhance the effectiveness of skincare. The second concept we highlight here is the smart shower. Imagine Ava's shower that detects her body's needs and automatically infuses the shower water with the right dose of active ingredients. And the third concept for the morning time is the prompt mirror. We know smart mirrors, of course, already, and probably you will laugh at us, Robin, talking about smart mirrors, but we imagine them to be much more compact. It can be integrated in any other device, and just scan our skin needs, and then instantly send the info to a skincare pod, which is pretty much like a skincare printer, and instantly mix her daily dose of skincare. So there's a sustainable aspect as well that is interesting in this concept. Trying to go to the next video. So we're now going into the afternoon of Ava. I think it is playing, does it? Yes, okay. We're now entering the afternoon. So Ava has an online meeting and wears Skintelligent makeup. She opens her computer screen, and the intelligent makeup pigments react to the blue light and boost her makeup, basically, to look really at her best on the screen. The second concept is about beauty food inside out. So Ava's integrated wrist chip sends information about the nutrients that she needs to her smartphone, and then proposes the most sustainable and tasty lunch options to choose from. Towards the end of the afternoon, Ava realizes that she has an in-person appointment with her boss. So she goes to the hairstyling pod close to her workspace, which may be at home, and to get an instant automated hairdo. So that's the idea here, which is, of course, hygienic as well in that way, because there's no human interaction. Now we're going into the evening. So after work, Ava has an appointment with her friends and would like to boost her makeup. She uses her iJet specs that you see here that instantly print the makeup that she wears on her eyes. Her lips, of course, also need a touch-up, so she uses the lip dropper. She would like to have the lips in the same color as the dress, so the dropper scans the color of her dress, which instantly changes the lip sync color into the right color, and she applies it on the lips. Then in the evening, we imagine the motion reactive hairspray. As Ava dances in the club, the color of her hair slightly changes in a multidimensional holographic effect triggered by her movements. So a lot of interaction with the environment, actually, that could be interesting to explore in beauty in general. Before we go into the Q&A session, and no worries, we can overrun a little bit for those who are interested to really listen to the Q&A. I wanted to bring to your attention a special event that is complementary for the beauty community. This year marks BeautyStream's 10th anniversary, and instead of throwing a big party, we wanted to show that we're grateful to the beauty industry and would like to contribute back to the community. So we launched the non-profit organization called OpenStreams Foundation. The first OpenStreams event is actually the launch of the OpenStreams Global Beauty Industry Summit. It will take place on October 23, and I think the video is still playing. Actually, I'm going to maybe shut that off. It doesn't really matter, maybe. So it takes place on the 23rd, and there will be 2 sessions made to make it suitable for as many time zones as possible. The first session is at 3:30 a.m. CET, and the second session at 6 p.m. CET. You can see the conversion on the slide for the different time zones. It will be an online conference, including interviews and perspective from 17 national beauty associations. We also interviewed 12 beauty trade show organizations, of course, including one of our key partners, Cosmoprof, to get their insights and opinions. The total time of the event is 90 minutes. And for more information and to get you free access to the online event, please visit openstreamsfoundation.org. So we're going now, just at the end of the presentation, into our Q&A session. So I see that there's many questions, so maybe in sake of time, let's pick just one question per person. Maybe Robin, for you, the first question. Are there any technologies in development that could offer more immersive and textural product experiences?
Oh, yes. So let's just take this video conference we're having now. If we come back next year, I think what you're going to see is haptics, so I can feel and touch things. VR glasses, many conference producers are already sending out glasses, and you put them on for the conference and you find yourself in an immersive environment. So I think virtual reality with glasses for now, ultimately, who knows, probably with contact lenses, will put you in these very sensuous environments. And I would look to fashion to see what they did during Fashion Week. Some of there's a fashion show called Circular Summit, all done in VR with glasses. And so a year from now, you will see taste, smell, sight, touch, more enhanced using technology, which is interesting because during the pandemic, a lot of those things disappeared entirely.
Okay, thank you. I hope that answered the question. If you have any questions anyway, you can address directly Cosmoprof, who will relay the questions to everybody on this call. The next question is to Ivy. What are the key ingredients for a small beauty brand to succeed in e-commerce platforms?
So, well, the key is actually to sell the right product to the right group of people and through the right channel. So I think it might sound very easy, but it is not. So as I said before, I believe small companies with clear value proposition and a strong product capability and diversified sales channel will likely to succeed. So first, about the value proposition, I think we have talked a lot about focus on wellness, inclusivity, sustainability, social responsibility, these kind of things, and also strong product capability. So I think everything will come down to the product. So decide what customer sector you want to serve and choose the right product to sell. Like for Generation Z, what they are caring for products is and also see what the pandemic has a post-pandemic trend is like product more focused on wellness and like the health and the safety facts of the ingredients. And also about the diversified channel, I think e-commerce is definitely one of the most important channel. And alongside, we also have like the shoppable social media live stream, which was very popular in China. Everyone sells everything through live stream. And also like online community is very important. But for the e-commerce part, I think like you have to have a team to do this. But the team doesn't have to be very big. You have to have at least 3 or 4 person is already good enough. Like one person to do the product sourcing and logistics, and they want to do like store operation, like listing, keywords advertising, promotional campaign, and they want to mark the marketing and through social media or what I said before, and which will bring you the highest ROI. I think these are the key. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Whoever asked the question, please type in comments in the field if it didn't fully answer, but I think this was a very complete answer. So maybe let's stay in retail and address a question to JP. Do you believe that brick and mortar retail will eventually be reserved to luxury brands only? I don't know if your sound is on. I can't hear you, JP. Maybe there's a little technical issue. So maybe I'll take another question for Lan, and as soon as JP is back, maybe we can ask the question again. Another question: that protectionism due to the crisis will make global. Oh, now I can hear you. Yes.
All right.
Go ahead.
I was saying to myself, very intuitive question, because as we look through all these virtual, digital, home delivery, seamless opportunities, it becomes increasingly clear that we're going to reserve physical interaction, which includes physical retail experiences, to things that deliver sensorial, psychological, social value that this virtual environment cannot deliver. Nobody enjoys waiting in line, whether it's at the doctor's or at Sephora. Nobody enjoys having to fill out forms or talking to people who don't make sense, who don't understand you, etc. So the bar will be very high to create experiences that are really worth my while in the real sense of the term, really worth my investment in time, etc. Because otherwise, all the other stuff, eventually your video is going to show that actually you do it while you sleep. You just think about it, and that bank money transfer is going to be done. You're just going to think about it, and that makeup is going to be on, and it's going to be your avatar, and you're going to have dreams in that makeup. So what the real world and the real environment then can add to that is all these irresistible items that I was talking about, which are the let me touch, let me smell, let me sense, let me get the holistic part of that, the gestalt of that, as they call it in psychology. And it's not easy and it's not cheap. And so the likelihood, yes, is that these will be prestige lighthouse experiences. Not necessarily luxury in the sense of only affordable to a few or only for these abstract, unnecessary things, but they will be elevated and they will be reserved for elevated brands, experiences, and probably be premium priced because they can.
Thank you, JP. Last question, I guess. Any other question? I saw there's some questions to me as well, but I'm happy to just answer if you write to contact@beautystreams.com or michael@beautystreams.com. I will just ask the last question to Lan, which is, do you think that protectionism due to the crisis will make global trends obsolete?
Well,
are you there, Lan?
Yeah, can you hear me okay? I've been having a bad connection. I think that the pandemic has shown us very clearly that we're one Earth, and how something can travel so quickly across the Earth. Unfortunately, it's a virus, but it's the same with anything now with the technology. Everything is so instant. So of course, the natural reaction when a crisis hits is to close yourself, to protect yourself, and to be more local, protect your country, protect your family. But you can't deny that you have to see what's going on around the world, because it's going to impact you. What happened in China or happened in the States, or Brazil, it all comes together, and one way or other will impact you.
Okay, thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, it's all for good. Thank you, everybody, to attend this meeting. We explained the time frame a little bit. I'm sure you still have a lot of questions. So as I said, either you address directly Cosmoprof or you write to contact@beautystreams.com, and we're happy to just relay the questions. Also, note that if you go to beautystreams.com, you'll see that there's a special COVID-19 series of free content, actually, that we made free for everybody. So feel free to explore and go, and if you're interested, we can grant access to a lot of content to you. Thank you so much, everybody, and see you very soon, and stay safe. Thank you.